Hello, everyone. Jacquie Edwards here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited on this beautiful sunny day. The weather has been amazing lately. So if you're watching this live or this week, yay, weather's been awesome. If you're watching this sometime in the winter, well, sorry. Anyways, so today I wanted to talk about what to do if you're having a problem with the tenant and they are threatening legal action. Now, first of all, take a deep breath and relax. This does seem to happen quite regularly. You get some tenants that feel like the more hassle they cause, then the better service they're going to get. Some people don't know that if you get more, what is it? You attract more flies with honey or whatever it is. Anyways, it's better to be nice to people, but some tenants don't realize that. Now, first of all, the first thing to think of is, have you actually done everything properly? So are you, in a good position? Because sometimes, tenants, they expect the world, they get angry at random stuff. Sometimes it isn't your fault. Other times, it's important to make sure you have done everything properly. Now, there is a lot of nuance and ins and out in tenant management and landlord-tenant law. So I highly, highly recommend joining something like the NLA or the RLA and doing their courses. Now, I prefer the NLA. They've got loads and loads of online courses that you can take easy at home from your computer once you become a member. I believe the RLAs are only, you have to go and attend in person. That might have changed. I haven't checked again recently, but yeah, the NLA has some great online courses, and those are focused on kind of the legals of owning a property and renting your property out. So, it covers things like fire safety and managing tenants and evicting tenants and doing contracts and all of that stuff that, you can go to lots of other property training courses and you can learn the strategy for getting properties and, buying properties and renting properties and taking them on. But most of them don't give you the detail on how do you manage those tenants? What is the landlord tenant law? And that's what you can get from the NLA or the RLA. So I highly recommend that you check those out and become a member of at least one of them to just make sure that you've gone through the law, you know what your legal responsibilities are, you know what your tenants' rights are, and you know how to do everything properly. All right, next step is, once you've decided, yes, I am in the right, I've done everything properly and correctly, then again, just take a deep breath and basically it's up to you to decide. I normally, try to let the tenant give a little bit of a rant, do his thing. I mean, they often say, oh, I'm going to complain to the council. So I do have licensed HMOs, but that tenant complaining to the council about something that the council doesn't care about or that doesn't matter, it's not going to do anything. So right now we've got a situation. Now this is slightly my fault. So it's a little bit funny. So we are coming to the end of a contract on one of our rent to rents, and I don't want to manage this property anymore. So we've been going back and forth with the agent about what's going to happen. Are you keeping the owner, so the owner, the new agent, are you going to keep the tenants or are you not going to keep the tenants? Like, what's happening? And I finally said, all right, no, I've just got to give my tenants notice now. So gave all the tenants notice. Without realizing that one tenant is still in his contract. So he's still within his first 6 months in the agreement. So, which obviously means you can't send a Section 21. We can't evict them if they're in their first 6 months. So the tenant understandably is angry. So I went back to him. So he wrote and he was like, oh, you can't evict me. I've just moved in, my contract, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. You don't have to move out. Your contract is obviously until XYZ date. So you don't have to move out until then. So your new agent and your landlord will have to abide by this contract, and you'll be able to stay in the property. Now, what I did is, of course, he was like belligerent, angry. So most of them are keyboard warriors. So if I probably talked to him face to face, it wouldn't be quite so angry, but they can write a mean email. So he's like, I'm going to complain to everybody. I'm talking to my legal counsel. How dare you do this to me? And I said, okay, basically, you're right. I've said you can stay in the property. It was a mistake. Alternatively, I will pay you £500 if you move out on this date. That should help cover your moving costs and, the hassle of having to move again so quickly. I said, the choice is yours. Whatever you want to do, you can either stay here and live out your contract, or you can move, and I'll pay you £500. So he bitched at me a whole bunch more. And so I wrote him back and I said, okay, well, it sounds like you don't want to take the money. You want to stay in the property. So I'll talk to the landlord. And he said, no, 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 that's not what I want. I haven't said that. So then he came back and was like, no, I'll take the 500 pounds and move out. So, but he still continues to message me and he's like, I've complained to the council about this now because this is completely unacceptable. You can't just do this. You can't just evict me illegally. And I've had to keep saying, but we haven't. So yes, I'm sorry I sent you that notice. That was a mistake. But I've said you can stay in the property, but you've decided to take the money and move out. You can change your mind up till that date if you want to. So if you want to stay in the property, you're more than welcome to. And then he said, oh, and he asked like a list of questions of, is Jade going into insolvency? Is the company shutting down? And he said his legal team wants to know that question. So when somebody asks you questions for their legal team, I would highly recommend replying and saying, if your legal team has questions, please have them message us directly and we will forward those on to our legal team. And that's pretty much it. And then it will pretty much stop there because it's highly unlikely that your tenant has a legal team because at this point, as long as you know that you're in the right, they've got no case. No legal solicitor is going to take on something that doesn't have a case, even some of those free ones. So yeah, basically, long story short is don't worry too much about it. Make sure you know the law and the legislation and make sure that you've done everything that you can. And it's the same for maintenance. I get a lot of tenants that are not a lot. So I should back this off. And yes, Barney, he does sound like a lovely guy. Ugh. So I get tenants that are like, oh, you need to fix this maintenance immediately, or I'm going to, complain to the council. So yes, there are requirements that you do have to maintain the property. And, you should do that in a timely fashion. But oftentimes your timely fashion and the tenant's timely fashion is very different. And I mean, I do everything I can to kind of get things done. But sometimes you're waiting on engineers, you're waiting on parts to come. Everything seems to break on like a Friday morning. So then you're waiting until after the weekend before you can really start anything. And you'll get tenants that are complaining and they're saying, oh, this house is unlivable. You can't treat me like this. I'm going to complain to the council. And a lot of people get scared because you think, oh my gosh, if that tenant's complained to the council, then I'm not allowed to, evict them. They might have environmental health come out, all these things. But if you've got a good track record with the council, like all my licenses are up to date, the council, at least the HMO people, they know me. And in my council, at least, I think this is most councils, the HMO department falls under the environmental health services. So they all kind of know each other. They know me. They know I'm a good landlord. So they're not going to take super, super seriously, one or two emails from a random tenant giving complaints about this or that not being fixed. So again, just go into kind of like customer service mode when that tenant is angry. Just don't apologize for like things that you haven't done wrong, but you can apologize that they're feeling angry, or, be understanding and say, I understand how this can be frustrating. This is what we're doing. And that's why communication is one of the biggest things that you can have with your tenants, is making sure you're constantly communicating. So if there's any changes, if there's maintenance that's, going to have some delays, make sure you're constantly messaging your tenants and keeping them informed. And that will avoid a lot of these anger issues. But if they do have anger issues, most of the time you're going to be okay as long as you know the law and you've followed everything properly. Then they haven't got a leg to stand on. I know so many of my tenants. I even had a tenant once that told me he was going to complain to his union about me. I was like, what is your union going to do? Like, he's some kind of like mechanic or something. I was like, your union, what are they going to do about the fact that your bathtub is broken? I was like, I'm so confused. But they like to threaten with whatever they can. And they think that's going to make things go more quickly. It really doesn't. I'm always trying to do everything fastest. I don't want the hassle of things dragging out. So anyways, relax. It happens. Make sure you know the law and just kind of support them, be understanding of them. And if they really push, just say, have your legal team contact my legal team. You don't even have to have a legal team at this point because it's so unlikely that their legal team is going to even exist, that you will be fine. All right. That is all that I have got for today. I've got to jump on my call with my VIPers. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful time. Enjoy the lovely weather, and I will see you again next week.